it's negative 3/4, so we know that r is always positive, and it's 4 in this case. And sine the y is negative 3. And so to find x, you use Pythagorean theorem, so it's going to be negative 3 squared plus x squared equals 4 squared. So 9 plus x squared is 16. So subtract 9, so x squared is 7. So in quadrant 3, it would be negative radical 7. So you have sine theta is, well, it was given to you, right? So that's negative 3/4. So that makes cosecant negative 4/3. And then cosine would be x over r, so negative radical 7 over 4. So this would be negative 4 over radical 7, which is negative 4 radical 7 over 7. Tangent is y over x, so it's negative 3 over negative radical 7, which is 3 radical 7 over 7 once you rationalize it. And then for cotangent, it would be radical 7 over 3. So for C, you want the angle to be in quadrant 1 because both sine and cosine are positive, and that's where the two dots are. Sine is y over r, so 1, 4 right there. 16 minus 1 is 15, so that would be square root of 15, Pythagorean theorem. And so they gave you sine is 1/4, so this one's 4. Cosine is radical 15 over 4, so then this is 4 over radical 15, which is 4 radical 15 over 15. Tangent is 1 over x, or y over x, so it's 1 over radical 15, which is, when you rationalize, radical 15 over 15. And reciprocal of that would be radical 15. So for D, secant is positive, so that means cosine is positive, so that's where the black dots are in quadrant 1 and 4. And then cosecant is negative, which means that sine is negative. That would be quadrant 3 or 4. So then the two dots are in quadrant 4, so that means the angle's in quadrant 4. So secant is r over x. So we're looking for y, so 9 minus 1, because 3 is the hypotenuse. So 9 minus 1 is, 8. So y is the square root of 8. So you simplify it as 2 radical 2. So it's going to be negative 2 radical 2, because it's in quadrant 4. So sine would be y over r. And then you have the reciprocal of, well, let's do the cosine 1/3. Secant is 3. And then this would be negative 3 over 2 radical 2. You rationalize, so you multiply only by the radical 2. You don't have to multiply by anything else. Negative 3 radical 2 over, now this becomes 2 times 2, which is 4. Tangent is y over x, so negative 2 radical 2 over 1. And then cotangent would be the reciprocal of that, so negative 1 over 2 radical 2. So again, we rationalize, and so you get negative radical 2 over 4. So for letter E, tangent is negative in quadrants 2 and 4, and sine is negative in quadrants 3 and 4. So the two dots are in quadrant 4, so the angle's right here in quadrant 4, so here's theta. And then we form a right triangle right there to the x-axis. So tangent is y over x. So y is negative radical 5 and x is positive 2. So with Pythagorean theorem, we get 2 squared, which is 4, plus negative 5 squared, which is 5, equals 9. So r squared is 9, so r is 3. So here's 3 right here. Okay, so sine is, well, we have tangent, right? So let's put that in right now. So now reciprocal we're going to rationalize, so you get negative 2 radical 5 over 5. Sine is y over x, so negative square root of 5 over 3. Reciprocal would be negative 3 over radical 5, which is negative 3 radical 5 over 5. Cosine is x over r, so that would be 2/3, and this is 3/2. Cosine is positive in quadrants 1 and 4. Sine is negative in quadrants 3 and 4. So the angles in quadrant 4. And actually, cosine being radical 3 over 2, I don't even have to draw the triangle because that's a ratio for a special angle. So this is radical 3 over 2, so that means that sine is negative 1/2. And so this is negative 2 over radical 3, which is 2 radical 3 over 3. And tangent, sine over cosine, so it's negative 1 over radical 3, which is negative radical 3 over 3. And the cotangent would be negative radical 3. So for G, you have cosecant positive, that's a reciprocal of sine. So sine is positive in 1 and 2. Cosine negative in 2 and 3. So that means the angle's in quadrant 2. Okay, so we draw the triangle to the x-axis. Cosecant is r over y, so r is 3 and y is 2. And Pythagorean theorem, 9 minus 4 gives us 5, right? 3 squared is 9 and 2 squared is 4. So 9 minus 4 gives us 5, and so it'd be negative square root of 5. Okay? So now sine theta, well, we have cosecant, so we have 3/2 right here. And so this would be 2/3. Cosine is x over r. So we have over 3. And negative 3 over radical 5, which is negative 3 radical 5 over 5. And tangent is y over x, so it's 2 over negative radical 5, which is negative 2 radical 5 over 5. And then cotangent would be the reciprocal of that, so negative radical 5 over 2. So cotangent is positive in quadrants 1 and 4, and cosine is positive in quadrants 1 and 3, and cosine is positive in quadrants 1 and 4. So the angle's in quadrant 1. Okay, so cotangent being radical 2 means that it's x over y. So this is radical 2, that's x, and y is 1. So square the 2, you get 2. Square the 1, you get 1. So this would be 2 plus 1, radical 3. Okay, so sine, well, cotangent is radical 2, so we have that answer already. And this would be 1 over radical 2, so that would be radical 2 over 2. Sine is y over r, 1 over radical 3, which is radical 3 over 3. So that's the reciprocal. And cosine is x over r. I'll do it up here because I'm not going to have enough room. So x over r is radical 2 over radical 3. You rationalize, and you get radical 6 over 3. Okay. Secant is the reciprocal of that, so we could just take the reciprocal of this and get 3 over radical 6. So you rationalize. So 3 radical 6 over 6, I can reduce this by 3. So radical 6 divided by 2. Alright, I is not possible because you can't have a secant between negative 1 and 1. And here we have negative 1/5. So the r cannot be smaller than the r is the hypotenuse. It cannot be smaller than one of the legs. So 1/5 is not possible. So cotangent being radical 2 over 3, cotangent is positive in quadrants 1 and 3. Sine is negative in quadrants 3 and 4. So then the angle's in quadrant 3. Cotangent is x, so negative radical 2 over y, negative 3. Now I'm putting negatives in front of the numbers because in quadrant 3 both x and y are negative. Okay? Now remember, these are not, the negatives here do not represent the distances, they give you the direction. Okay, like a vector. So, let's see, cotangent, I could put radical 2 over 3 here, and then this would be the reciprocal 3 over radical 2, which is 3 radical 2 over 2. Sine is y over, oh sorry, we have to find the r, huh? So 3 squared is 9, and square root of 2 squared is 2. So this is, so now we have 9 plus 2 equals 11. So square root of 11 would be your r. Okay, so now sine theta is y over r, so negative 3 over radical 11. So that's negative 3 radical 11 over 11. And the reciprocal would be negative radical 11 over 3. Cosine is x over r, so I'm going to put it, so cosine, I'll just put the work right here because there's not enough space, is x over r, so it's negative radical 2 over radical 11. So we have to rationalize. So that's going to give you negative radical 22 over 11. Okay, and then for secant, you are going to take the reciprocal. I could just flip the negative radical 11 over radical 2, rationalize like this, and I get negative radical 22 over 2. So for k, cosecant equal to 2 radical 3 over 3. That's a positive number, and cosine being positive, so we know that the angle is going to be in quadrant 1. Because sine, cosecant is reciprocal of sine. Sine would be positive in 1 and in 2, right here and here. And cosine is positive in 1 and 4, so the angle is in quadrant 1. Sine is radical 3 over 2, because that's a reciprocal of 2 radical 3 over 3. And so we know that then, this is like one of the first ones we did, like A, right? A special angle. So if sine is radical 3 over 2, and this is 2 radical 3 over 3, then cosine is 1/2. And tangent is radical 3, and secant theta is 2, and cotangent theta is 1 over radical 3, which is radical 3 over 3. So secant theta is reciprocal of cosine, and that's negative. So that would be in quadrants 2 or 3. And tangent is negative in quadrants 2 or 4. So then that means that the angle is in quadrant 2. Okay? Now the reciprocal, so this is negative 3 radical 5 over 5. So that means that the reciprocal of that is cosine, so that would be negative, you flip it, radical 5 over 3. Okay, so when you label your triangle, cosine is x over r. So we're missing the y, so 9 minus, you square the 3, you get 9. You square the radical 5, you get 5. So then that's 4, so square root of 4 is 2. So y is 2. Okay, so sine would be y over r, so 2 over 3, and then this is 3 over 2. And tangent would be y over x, so negative 2 over radical 5, which is negative 2 radical 5 over 5. And then the cotangent theta would be negative radical 5
over 2.